Ladies and gentlemen, in a world obsessed with speed, where we are taught to chase what we want and never look back, there exists a higher law, a divine principle far more powerful than effort, urgency, or control. It is the law of divine timing and soul connections. When someone is in your soul, truly etched into the fabric of your being, you do not need to strive to keep them. If they are meant to be part of your journey, they will return. Because what is bound by soul cannot be broken by time. The truth is, not every departure is permanent. Sometimes, people leave because the season demands it. Growth often requires distance. Healing sometimes needs solitude. And in these moments, the human heart can ache with questions. Why did they leave? Will they ever come back? Was the connection real? But the soul knows. The soul whispers something deeper than our feel. If they are in your soul, they will return to your life. The Carl Jung believed that the unconscious holds on to truths the conscious mind often forgets. He taught us that what belongs to the self, the true divine essence of who we are, will inevitably rise to the surface. That includes the relationships and connections that shape our inner transformation. A soul connection is not just emotional, it is spiritual. It is when two lives intersect not merely by chance, but by divine orchestration. These bonds don't always make logical sense, but they carry a sense of familiarity, depth, and timelessness that cannot be denied. You may lose touch. You may grow apart. You may even doubt the validity of what you shared. But if someone has been written into your soul story, they are not gone. They are simply walking their own path of becoming. And you must walk yours. The time apart is not wasted. It is sacred. It is the refining fire that prepares both souls for the reunion that divine timing has already written. There are seasons in life when silence feels like abandonment. But silence, in the realm of faith, often means preparation. What you perceive as a delay may be the very grace that protects and perfects the return. A person who left might return not as who they were, but as who they were always meant to be. And so will you. In divine timing, the return is not about reclaiming the past. It's about honoring the future that connection was always meant to serve. Consider this: you may have prayed for restoration, begged for answers, or cried out in pain. But the truest prayer is surrender. The most powerful words are often the simplest. Speak the word Lord. Not to force, not to manipulate, but to release what is sacred into the hands of God. And when that happens, divine timing begins its quiet, miraculous work. People are transformed. Hearts are softened, lives realign. Not because we made it happen, but because we trusted the process. There are countless stories of lost friends reunited, of lovers restored, of purposes rediscovered after years in hiding. These stories aren't fiction. They're evidence. Evidence that what is meant for your soul will never be lost forever. The connection may be tested, the bond may stretch, but it will not break. Not if it was divine in origin. Not if it is truly rooted in love, growth, and grace. So wait, not with bitterness, but with expectancy. Let go, not in despair, but in trust. Because if they are in your soul, they are never truly gone. The world may forget, the mind may doubt, but the soul remembers. And when the time is right, when healing has taken place, when the lessons have been learned, they will return. Not as a ghost of what once was, but as a living part of your becoming. This is the power of divine timing and soul connections. What the soul holds, God restores, always. There is a kind of pain that goes beyond physical wounds, a soul deep ache that comes when someone you love walks away, when a part of your life that once felt essential suddenly disappears. In that moment, your heart feels hollow, your prayers echo in silence, and hope flickers like a candle in the wind. But it is precisely in these moments that faith and spiritual healing reveal their true power. Because what is placed in your soul by divine design is never truly lost, and if they're in your soul, they will return to your life. Not through force, but through the mysterious, unstoppable force of faith. Faith is not just a feeling, it is a commitment to trust in what you cannot yet see. It is believing in the unseen alignment of the divine, trusting that there is a purpose in the delay, a purpose in the pain. Spiritual healing begins the moment we surrender, not give up, but give over. We release our grip on what we think must happen, and we trust the one who sees the full picture. Healing is not always about fixing what's broken on the outside. Sometimes, it's about awakening what's whole on the inside, the part of you that knows you are held, even in absence. The part that believes love, if true, will always find its way back. When someone is embedded in your soul, it means they've touched something eternal in you. You may not understand the why behind their absence. You may cry out for answers and feel nothing but silence. But the silence is not empty. It is full of unseen movement. It is in this sacred stillness that faith grows. Spiritual healing is the slow, quiet rebuilding of trust in God's timing, in His ability to restore what is sacred, and in His wisdom to remove what no longer serves your becoming. Carl Jung spoke of the process of individuation, the journey toward becoming the whole self. And part of that journey often involves separation, shadow, and solitude. We lose people, not always because the bond is broken, but because the soul needs space to grow. Healing happens not just through prayer, but through transformation. We become someone new, someone capable of receiving love at a deeper level. And sometimes so do they. There are those who left your life not because the love was false, but because the moment was incomplete. But if that person is tied to your soul's purpose, if their presence was not just emotional but spiritual, you do not need to chase them. You need only to heal. And in your healing, you create a space for divine restoration to occur. Spiritual healing restores your connection to yourself, to God, and to the deeper truths that outlive temporary loss. It takes great faith to let go of someone and still believe they will return. But this faith is the seed of every miracle. The woman who touched the hem of Jesus' robe didn't need a full conversation. She just needed a moment of belief. The same power that healed her body also heals the spaces inside of us that feel empty when someone we love is gone. Faith says, God, I don't understand, but I trust you. If they are meant for me, if they're in my soul, bring them back in your time. There are many stories of love rekindled, of friendships reborn, of families restored. Not by force, but by faith. Not by strategy, but by surrender. And every one of these carries the same truthing: when the soul is ready and the heart is healed, what is truly meant to be will return, not because you held on, but because you let go in faith and made room for divine grace to work. So breathe, heal, believe. If they're in your soul, they'll return, not as they were, but as they are meant to be. And you too will no longer be who you once were. You will be whole, you will be ready, and the reunion will be a testimony, not of loss but of divine healing through faith. Carl Jung, the father of analytical psychology, believed that the soul holds the deepest truths of who we are. Beneath our thoughts, emotions, and surface-level identities lies what Jung called the self, a sacred, whole and eternal part of us that carries every experience, every emotion, every connection that has ever truly mattered. According to Jung, nothing that enters the soul is ever truly lost. It may be buried, forgotten, or hidden in the unconscious, but it remains alive. And when the soul is ready, when the self has done its inner work, those lost parts return. That is why, if they are in your soul, they will return to your life. In Jungian psychology, the soul does not operate by logic or timelines. It speaks in symbols, dreams, synchronicities, and deep intuitions. It does not measure loss the way the mind does. It understands that separation is often a stage in the process of transformation. When someone touches your soul, they become part of your inner architecture. Even if they leave, even if time passes and wounds grow, the imprint remains. That imprint is not a wound. It is a marker of something sacred, something unfinished, something eternally alive within you. Jung taught that the psyche has a natural drive toward wholeness. This process, known as individuation, often requires us to face painful separations, confront our shadow selves, and endure spiritual winters. When someone departs from your life, it may not be a sign of rejection, but of divine preparation. Their absence may be the exact experience your soul needs to grow, and just as you are growing, so are they. The space between you becomes fertile ground for transformation. If that person is a true soul connection, not just a passing attachment, but someone whose presence awakened a deeper version of you, then they are not truly gone. They are woven into the threads of your becoming. Jung might say they have been absorbed into the self, the center of the soul, where all true things dwell until they are ready to remerge. When both souls have evolved to the point of alignment, life has a mysterious way of orchestrating a return. This is not a passive hope. Jungian psychology calls us to active participation in our own transformation. It requires deep inner work, Shadow work, healing, surrender, and faith. It asks us to stop chasing and start becoming. Because the return of a soul connection does not come when we grip tightly. It comes when we align with who we were always meant to be. When we release the ego's need to control and allow the self to guide us through intuition, grace, and divine timing. The people often report uncanny coincidences, a dream, a name, a song, a chance encounter, that suddenly reopens a connection long thought lost. Jung called this synchronicity, a meaningful coincidence that reveals the hand of the divine within the unconscious. If they're in your soul, their name will come to you when you least expect it. Their voice may echo in your mind in moments of deep reflection. These are not hallucinations, they are signals. The soul is remembering. And if your inner world is awakening to the memory, it's possible theirs is too. We are not just individuals walking alone through time. We are souls deeply connected through invisible threads that time, distance, and silence cannot sever. Jung believed healing occurs when we integrate, not suppress, what has shaped us. So if someone is part of your soul story, you do not need to forget them. You must honor them, heal, grow, and trust, because when the soul is ready and the lessons have been learned, that which is part of your deepest self will return. Not as a memory, but as a living part of your present. Not because you forced it, but because you surrendered. If they are in your soul, they are never truly gone. They are only waiting for the right moment to come home. Letting go is one of the most painful acts we are ever called to do, especially when it involves someone we love deeply. It goes against our instincts, against our need for answers, closure, and control. But in the realm of faith, letting go is not abandonment. It is trust. Trust in something greater than ourselves. Trust that if someone is in your soul, truly placed there by divine design, they are never truly gone. And if they are meant to return, they will. On God's terms, in God's time. Trusting God means surrendering the illusion that we must fix everything ourselves. It means releasing the grip of anxiety, the need to know why someone left or how the story will end. It means placing that person and that pain into the hands of the one who sees all and knows all. God's perspective is infinite, ours is limited. While we see separation, He sees preparation. While we see endings, He sees transformation. When we trust God with our relationships, we allow Him to do what only He can: heal hearts, restore timing, and align souls. Letting go is not about forgetting someone or pretending they didn't matter. It's about acknowledging that their place in your heart is sacred, but their presence in your life must be surrendered to a higher will. We often think that if we hold on tighter, we can preserve love. But love that is held too tightly becomes suffocated. True love, soul-deep love, needs space to breathe, to evolve, to grow in its own way. Trusting God means stepping back so He can step in. There are moments in life when we pray for someone to stay, and instead they walk away. Those are the moments that test our faith the most. But it is also in those moments that God whispers, "Skirdo, will you trust me even when you don't understand?" That trust is where healing begins. It is where peace is born. It is where transformation takes root. We may not understand why someone had to leave, why the timing was off, why the connection faded. But God's wisdom is not bound by our emotions. He sees what we cannot. He sees the growth still needed, the wounds still unhealed, the lessons still to be learned, on both sides. Sometimes, the only way for a soul connection to be preserved is for a season of separation to occur. It is not the end of the story, it is part of the becoming. Letting go does not mean giving up hope. It means giving up control. It means saying, "God, I believe that if this person is meant to be in my life, if this love is written in my soul, you will bring it back in the right way and at the right time." That is not weakness. That is strength. The strength to trust in something unseen, the strength to walk forward in faith even while your heart still aches. When we trust God fully, something beautiful happens. We begin to grow. We begin to step into the version of ourselves that we were always meant to be. And if the person we let go of is also on that path, if they are truly in our soul, they will return. Not as a repeat of the past, but as a reflection of divine restoration. So let go. Not in fear, but in faith. Trust no in your ability to hold it all together, but in God's ability to bring everything into divine alignment. If they are in your soul, they are never truly lost. Their return does not depend on your striving, It depends on your surrender, because God never loses what belongs to him, and what is meant for your soul will always find its way back, restored, renewed, and right on time. Healing through faith and belief is one of the most profound journeys the soul can undertake. It is the quiet process of rebuilding what was broken, not just on the outside, but within the unseen depths of the heart. When someone you love leaves, especially someone who felt etched into your soul, the emptiness can feel unbearable. You question everything, your worth, your choices, your future. But it is in this very brokenness that the foundation for true healing is laid. Because healing that lasts, that transforms, comes not from the world but from faith. It comes from believing in something greater than the pain, something stronger than the absence, the power of God, and the wisdom of divine timing. When someone is in your soul, their absence doesn't erase them. Their presence lingers, not just in memories, but in spiritual resonance. The connection, if real and soul deep, doesn't vanish. It simply moves into a different form. And this is where belief becomes essential. Belief that the bond was not in vain. Belief that if God allowed their exit, he also holds the potential for their return. Belief that your healing is not just a side effect of time, but the fruit of trust. Trust in God's ability to restore what is meant to be. And trust in yourself to grow through the waiting. Faith is not denial. It doesn't ask you to pretend the pain isn't real. It asks you to carry that pain to God and say, even this, Lord, even now, I believe you are working. That kind of faith opens the door to spiritual healing, a healing that goes beyond understanding. It begins to soften the sharp edges of grief. It allows forgiveness to replace resentment, hope to replace despair, and peace to return in place of longing. Your real healing begins the moment you stop trying to make sense of everything and simply believe that you are being held. That even if you don't understand the why, God does. And he is not punishing you. He is preparing you. Sometimes healing requires that we walk alone for a season, not as punishment, but as preparation for something deeper, truer, more aligned with who we are becoming. People often ask, will they come back? The truth is, no one can answer that with certainty. But if they are truly in your soul, if the connection was written not just in time but in spirit, then it is not lost. And your job is not to chase, not to beg, but to heal. Because healing through faith means letting go of needing to control the outcome. It means trusting that God is not finished writing your story. There are countless stories of people who were separated by distance, by pain, even by time, only to find their way back to each other. Not by coincidence, but through the quiet, invisible work of grace. Those stories were not written by logic. They were written by belief. They were written by two souls doing their inner work and trusting that, if they were meant to meet again, they would. Your healing is your responsibility. It is also your freedom. You are not waiting in pain, you are growing in faith. And if that person returns, it will not be to the broken version of you they left. It will be to someone who has risen, who has matured, who has discovered their worth in God alone. So trust the process. Believe in the mystery of soul connections. And keep walking with your heart open to healing and your spirit anchored in faith. Because if they are in your soul, their return is not your burden. It is God's promise, fulfilled in his perfect time. Your belief is not just hope, it is power. It is the bridge between your pain and your healing. And on that bridge miracles walk. The return of lost love or purpose is a powerful and transformative experience that often defies human understanding but aligns perfectly with the deeper workings of the soul. When someone or something is truly in your soul, whether it's a person, a dream, or a calling, they leave an indelible mark that time, distance, or circumstance cannot erase. The phrase, if they're in your soul, they'll return to your life, speaks to a spiritual truth that goes beyond coincidence or wishful thinking. It is about the enduring nature of soul connections and divine purpose that inevitably finds its way back, even after seasons of loss and separation. Often, when love or purpose is lost, it feels like the very foundation of our existence has been shaken. The heart aches, the spirit feels broken, and questions flood the mind. Will they come back? Will I find my path again? Is this loss permanent? These are natural human responses to separation and uncertainty. Yet, the soul operates on a different plane, a plane where time is fluid and loss is often a chapter in a larger, ongoing story. The soul knows that departures are often necessary for growth and transformation. Sometimes, love or purpose must leave so that it can return renewed, stronger, and more aligned with your true self. When lost love returns, it is rarely a simple reunion of what once was. It is a meeting of souls that have evolved, healed, and grown in the interim. Both individuals return not just with memories, but with wisdom and maturity that deepen the connection. This return is a testament to the power of soul bonds. Connections that are not bound by physical proximity or time, but are woven into the fabric of who you are. The soul recognizes its counterpart, even if the mind tries to deny it. When love is truly soul deep, it will find its way back. Guided by divine timing and the inner transformation that has taken place during the separation. Similarly, the return of purpose is a rediscovery of your true calling that has been temporarily obscured by doubt, fear, or external circumstances. Purpose is not always a linear path. Sometimes it requires detours, pauses, or complete revaluations. But if your purpose is in your soul, it is never lost forever. It waits quietly within you, ready to re-emerge when you have shed the layers of uncertainty and are prepared to embrace it fully. The return of purpose often feels like coming home, an awakening to the part of yourself that has always known the way but needed time to be heard. This process of loss and return is deeply spiritual. It calls for faith, patience, and an openness to growth. It requires you to trust that what is meant for your soul will come back, not necessarily on your schedule or in your way, but in a manner that serves your highest good. The waiting period is not wasted time. It is a sacred space for healing, learning, and preparing for the reunion. Stories abound of individuals who lost their way or their love only to find it again when they were least expecting it. These stories remind us that life's most profound gifts often arrive after seasons of hardship and separation. They are proof that the soul's connections and callings are persistent and resilient. Ultimately, the return of lost love or purpose is a reminder that the soul is eternal and deeply interconnected. What belongs to your soul will always seek to come back to you, guided by divine timing and the inner transformation you undergo. The key is to remain open, to keep growing, and to trust that the universe is working in your favor, even when you cannot see it. When you embrace this truth, you cultivate hope and resilience. You learn to let go of control and surrender to the flow of life, and knowing that what is truly yours will find its way back, not as a mere coincidence, but as a fulfillment of a soul's promise. And in that return, you find not only what you lost but a deeper, richer, and more meaningful connection to yourself, to others, and to your life's purpose. The phrase, "Speak the word, Lord," carries immense power, especially when intertwined with the theme, "If they're in your soul, they'll return to your life." It speaks to the divine authority of God's spoken word, His promises, His commands, His healing power, that can transform every situation, mend every broken heart, and restore every lost connection. Healing through the spoken word is not just metaphorical, it is an active, faith-driven process where God becomes the catalyst for restoration, reconciliation, and renewal. When someone who once occupied a sacred place in your soul leaves, the wound feels deep and often unbearable. You long for their return, but human effort alone cannot rewrite the story. This is where the divine healing power of God's word comes in. In the Bible, Jesus demonstrated the instant power of His spoken word to heal the sick, calm storms, and even raise the dead. His voice carried authority because it was aligned with divine will. When we speak the word, whether through prayer, declaration, or worship, we invite that same authority into our lives. Healing through faith begins with the belief that God's word is living and active. It is not bound by time or circumstance. When you speak the word over your pain, your relationships, and your soul, you activate a supernatural power that moves beyond the physical realm. You are declaring that God's plan is greater than your current loss, that His healing is stronger than your brokenness, and that His timing is perfect. This faith-driven act of speaking the word is an expression of surrender and trust. It means saying, "Lord, I cannot fix this on my own, but I believe your word is true. I believe that if this person is meant to be in my life, your word will bring them back in your time." It is an act of aligning your heart with God's promises rather than your fears. This alignment opens the door to divine healing, healing that repairs the soul, restores hope, and rebuilds trust. The power of speaking the word is also rooted in the biblical principle of confession. Confessing God's promises over your life and relationships reinforces faith and renews your spirit. When you repeatedly declare, "If they are in my soul, Lord, bring them back," you are affirming your belief in God's sovereign power to restore what was lost. This is not magical thinking. It is spiritual authority wielded through faith. Real-life stories echo this truth. People have witnessed broken relationships mended, lost love rekindled, and shattered dreams restored when they embraced the practice of speaking God's word with unwavering faith. The spoken word becomes a beacon of hope in the darkest moments, reminding you that no situation is beyond God's ability to heal and restore. It's important to understand that speaking the word is not about demanding or manipulating outcomes. It's about partnering with God's will, allowing Him to move in ways beyond your understanding. Healing often requires patience, persistence, and continued faith. Even when answers seem delayed, the word spoken in faith holds power that steadily works beneath the surface, preparing the way for restoration. When you speak the word, you also invite personal transformation. Your heart begins to heal because you are focusing on God's truth rather than your pain. Your spirit is lifted because you are reminded of the eternal promises that transcend temporary loss. This inner healing is crucial, for it positions you to receive the fullness of God's restoration. Whether that means the return of a loved one or the emergence of a new purpose aligned with your soul. In essence, speaking the word Lord is a spiritual act of reclaiming hope and inviting divine intervention into the story of your soul. It is a declaration that the ties that bind soul connections cannot be broken by absence or time. It is faith in action, a powerful step toward healing, restoration, and the beautiful fulfillment of the promise that if they are in your soul, they will return to your life. Spiritual growth and resilience are essential pillars in understanding the profound truth behind the statement. If they're in your soul, they'll return to your life. When a soul connection is severed, or when a purpose seems lost, the pain can be overwhelming. Yet, it is precisely during these times of separation and uncertainty that spiritual growth is both tested and nurtured. Resilience is not merely about enduring hardships. It is about transforming them into opportunities for deeper faith, self-awareness, and inner strength. This process prepares you for the eventual return of what belongs to your soul. Whether it be a person, a purpose, or a calling, spiritual growth involves expanding your consciousness beyond the immediate circumstances, learning to trust the unseen forces at work in your life. It is a journey inward, where you confront your fears, your doubts, and your insecurities, and then choose faith over fear. In the context of soul connections, this means recognizing that separation is not rejection and absence is not loss. Instead, these are moments designed by the universe and by divine will to refine your spirit, clarify your path, and align your heart with your true self. Resilience in this spiritual context is not about tracing emotions or pretending everything is okay. It is about embracing your vulnerability, facing the pain of separation with honesty, and still choosing to move forward. This resilience is born from faith. Faith that the universe has a plan far greater than your current understanding, and faith that what is meant for you will find its way back. This faith fuels your inner strength and sustains you when external circumstances seem bleak. Every challenge, every moment of waiting becomes an opportunity for spiritual lessons. You learn patience, a virtue that allows you to rest in the knowledge that timing is divine, not dictated by human impatience. You learn humility, realizing that you cannot control every outcome and must surrender to a higher power. You learn self-love, understanding that your worth is not defined by someone's presence or absence, but by the soul that animates you. Spiritual growth also teaches you to cultivate hope. Hope is not wishful thinking, it is a profound trust that the soul's connections transcend physical separation. It is hope that whispers, if they are truly part of your soul's journey, they will return. Not because of your efforts alone, but because the universe conspires to reunite what belongs together. This hope sustains you in the darkest hours and becomes the light that guides you back to wholeness. Moreover, spiritual resilience transforms how you engage with your past and your future. Instead of clinging to what was or fearing what might never be, you learn to live fully in the present moment. You embrace the mystery of life, recognizing that every ending is also a beginning. This mindset allows you to release the need to force reconnections and instead prepare yourself to receive them when the time is right. Many people find that through spiritual growth and resilience, they become stronger and wiser than they were before the separation. Their hearts expand to hold more compassion, their minds open to deeper understanding, and their souls rise to a higher vibration. They become more attuned to the subtle signs and synchronicities that signal the return of what was lost. In the end, spiritual growth and resilience are not just about waiting for something or someone to come back. They are about becoming the person who can welcome that return in a way that honors the journey. If they are in your soul, their return will not be a mere reunion but a sacred meeting of two souls transformed by time, faith, and growth. This journey teaches you that soul connections are eternal, and what is destined will always find its way. The resilience you build and the spiritual growth you achieve during the waiting period are gifts that prepare you to embrace the fullness of that return with open arms and a healed heart. In this way, faith and resilience are not just survival tools. They are the very pathways through which the soul's deepest promises are fulfilled.